This week, we are discussing the Delphi case. The trial has begun, so we are introducing the case and sharing what happened and what was learned during the opening statements. We greatly appreciate the content creators who are traveling to the trial to cover what happens in court. The public wouldn't know what is happening without you. If you enjoy our content, please hit that like button. And please subscribe if you haven't. It's a free way to support our channel. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Typically Unique. I'm Kim Aponte, and I'm here with my husband, Carlos.
Hello.
We are starting a new series because the Delphi case has gone to trial, and it just started last Monday. And I have been following that case since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you know a little bit about it. It's been highly covered.
Oh, yeah.
So I have been waiting for it to go to trial. And the bad thing is they're not allowing any cameras or audio to be released from the hearing. So we are having to rely on the few journalists. A couple YouTubers that I follow have actually gone in. And so they are relaying off their meticulous notes that they take during the trial. But if you're not familiar with this case, it's called Delphi because it happened in Delphi, Indiana in 2017, I believe, February 13th, 2017. I only know that date because that was our daughter's birthday. Two girls, Abby Williams and Liberty German, had the day off from school, and it was a very warm day that February. They described it as like almost a summer-like day at that time. So they wanted to go out and do something that day. And Libby lived with her dad at her grandma's house, and the grandmother had to work. The girls, she had her best friend. They were best friends. Abby was always at Libby's house. They were there that morning and they were begging, we want to go do something. And they ended up getting a ride from her older sister, Kelsey, drove them to this park that had a ton of trails that they described it as these trails winding through this wooded park. There was a old wooden platform bridge that I believe a train used to travel on. I forget the name for a trestle bridge, but it was pretty old and decrepit. But you know, of course, that's the lure for people who like challenges and adventure to try to walk across it. So they wanted to go spend the day there, and they got dropped off at, I believe it was like close to 2:00 that day. And they were supposed to get picked up from Libby's dad later that day, like after 4:00 when he got off work. And when he showed up to pick them up, they did not meet him in the parking lot, and they could not find them.
And they weren't answering her phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Only Libby had a phone, and yeah, they weren't answering calls or texts. So they tried to get a hold of, family members, and the dad first went out walking around, but ultimately they never found the girls that night. And then they searched, I believe, until about 2 a.m, and then resumed the search at 6 a.m, and they were found late that morning. So it was tragic. They didn't know it was brutal. It was horrific. They were stabbed. So 5 years after the murders, they arrested a suspect, and his name was Richard Allen.
Is Richard Allen.
His name is Richard Allen. Another
He's
blooper.
yeah, he's still here.
Barely.
Yeah, for sure.
He was not on anybody's radar because, of course, the true crime community was really investigating and coming up with theories. He was a pharmacy worker. He was at the park that day. He self-reported himself as being at the park that day, so they had it on file somewhere. He spoke to somebody um, pretty quickly after that tragedy, and they never interviewed him again or looked into him or had thoughts of him until that 5 years later. That is who their suspect is, Richard Allen. He has been in prison, and they did not hold him in a jail. They held him in a prison, and there has been a lot of talk and description about how he was treated. He did not look well after 2 years spent in those conditions. He's recently been moved to a jail, and looks like the conditions have gotten better for him. But that is their suspect. And so last Monday, they started the trial. They had a few days of picking the jury, and then we're going to start with the opening statement day. So I don't think I have ever followed a case, like a court case like this, besides the Karen Reed trial. So we did cover the Karen Reed trial. That was the first one that I watched, like from beginning to end. Now, of course, like I said, we can't watch it, but I am going to go to the podcast episodes or the live streams on YouTube to find out. And I will say, Andrea Burkhart is one of the channels on YouTube that I'm getting the information from, and the Murder Sheet podcast. I listen to them on iTunes. I'm sure they probably have a YouTube channel also. That is who I listen to. So the opening statements.
Well, do you want to talk about how she got in there? How did she get in to get all this information?
Oh, yeah, the conditions, because that is how I've listened to. Also, Truth and Transparency went to the jury selection hearings, and they were all talking about how ridiculous it is to try to get into this courthouse. Like, they had to, for the opening statement day, camp out starting at 8 p.m. the night before. People were literally camping out in the freezing cold because it has been cold here in the Midwest at night. They get in, and then they cannot get up. Like, I don't even think they can get up for the breaks. I wasn't sure about that. Like, they had more leeway with getting up for breaks, but when lunchtime came and they said, okay, we're taking, 30 minutes or an hour for lunch, they all got up thinking, leaving like a jacket or something to keep their seat, and thought they would go grab lunch and get back. And they said, oh, no, you have to go back outside and reform a new line. We're clearing the courtroom. And if new people who weren't here this morning make it in line, they can come in the afternoon. And so these poor people that are going to cover this, because that's the only documentation that we have of what's going on inside these hearings, which I don't like. I think the public should be able to know what's going on, but no restroom breaks, no food, or like they were lucky someone like handed them a bottle of water like in passing so that's a tough one. Would you be able to do that?
No. No.
See, I could do it.
No,
I could do
you're
it.
used to
But
that.
if there was two of us, I would be like, you do one day, I'll do another day or something like that. But holy Toledo, they are not making it easy
Right.
for anybody to get in there. Okay. So the opening statements, the prosecution spoke first, and basically they're just giving a summary of what their case is going to be. Kind of like they're speaking to the jury, and they're just going to give a quick description of, here are the points we're going to make. Here's our case in a nutshell. So the prosecution said this is about a bridge guy, a bullet, and a brutal killing. And I guess that was a repeat that he had made. I guess they gave a mini statement the day before. So that seems like talking points that the prosecution is sticking with throughout this.
Right. And for those, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with the case, but those who aren't, this case, one of the reasons it is infamous is because it was released to the public an image of a man that they think committed the crime on this bridge, and a voice recording of a man saying, hey guys, down the hill. So I think it kind of captivated some people because, who is that person, especially
Yes.
in our own community, we
Yes.
should be able to recognize him.
Yes.
And the voice should have been a little bit of a giveaway too,
Also, the person had a really distinctive walk.
Yeah, but he was on a bridge that had,
Mm.
road ties or whatever you call railroad ties on there that
Mhm.
were pretty shabby at best. But I think that's where along with the brutal killings, I think that's what really took it to, this infamous state. Was there was things out there in the public that we could participate in, but no one ever came forward with Richard Allen.
No, they did not. And it just, I'm glad you brought that up about the video and everything, because 14-year-old girls, a 14-year-old girl with a phone had the wherewithal
Yeah.
to feel like something's not right.
Right.
There's a creepy guy coming up behind us. I'm hitting record. And she took a recording of this person that was walking up on them, and then ultimately the voice recording also. So
yeah, and again, I'm sure a lot of people who watch this are very familiar with the case, but I guess to give a little bit more context, we talked about this trestle or bridge or whatever that they walked across. It was rickety. One of the girls, I don't think, have ever traversed it before, or if they did, it was on their hands and knees or something. They were.
that was the older sister.
Yeah, okay, but but this, these two girls did cross this bridge. They were taking pictures before they crossed the bridge, and then as soon as they got across the bridge, they noticed that, hey, someone's following us. To your point, they had the wherewithal to snap some pictures, take some video, also record, everything that's going on. Unfortunately, it, what happened. They were unfortunately murdered, but I think that was the age of the girls. What was released to the public really put this case in the forefront, for a very long time.
Yeah. So they're basically saying that bridge guy is the person who killed the girls, and that Richard Allen is the bridge guy. So that's basically what they're claiming. And they have witnesses who saw a man at the park, and so they're going to say that they saw Richard Allen. Richard Allen does have confessions, many, like dozens and dozens of confessions. So they're going to use that. He confessed. When they went to his house, when they arrested him, they were able to get a Carhartt jacket that matched the picture and the images of the guy on the bridge. Jeans. The guy on the bridge was wearing jeans. And so with all of that, that's the evidence that it seems like they are going to use. So also there was a bullet. That's where the bullet comes from. A casing, I guess. An unspent casing was found between the girls, and so they're saying that came from his gun. So apparently they said they did a test and it came from his gun, but there's going to be some discrepancies.
Yeah, that's the prosecution saying.
Brought up with that, but that is the evidence that the prosecution's going to use.
So with that, when you heard that, when we have these discussions, I like to put myself in the jury box, right? So I try to say, okay, is that compelling to me? Does that keep me on the edge of my seat? Does that make me think that the right guy is sitting in front of us? Or wow, they're stretching. And for the most part, those are a couple big things there, again, it's an eyewitness, and the eyewitness is something digital that doesn't lie, so that could, if you could make that connection, I don't see it personally. I don't see
You mean the resemblance between
yeah,
him and the guy on the bridge?
the guy who walked into court, or where I've seen over the, past couple of times that they've been to court, is a small, pretty frail guy.
Yes.
When I look at the image of the person kind of walking across the bridge, seems like a big husky guy.
Yes.
So to me, I'm not putting one and one together right there, but I'm sure that they're going to show pictures of him from 7 years ago, and maybe there's a better match. But what I see today doesn't necessarily make that connection for me.
And it's hard to change height, right? You can't, as a full grown adult. And I guess the defense is going to say that the witnesses claimed that this person was 5'11", and he's only like 5'4". Like, he's like my size, like my height.
And the funny thing about that is, if I were looking at that person on the bridge, like I have been for, the previous, 7 years, first 5 years looking at that photo, I would have said, oh, that guy's probably 5'10", 5'11".
Really? I think it's hard to
Perspective,
tell.
without
Yeah.
perspective,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell how big that person is. So if I was walking the trail that day and I saw this guy from some distance, not right up to him so I can compare our heights together,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, that guy's about 5'10", big husky guy. I'm not gonna mess with him. I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah.
So it's all about perspective. And just, it's funny though, now after looking at that and having an idea of what I thought this person would look like, it's not the person that they brought into court.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So then the defense is going to say that this investigation has been messed up from the beginning. There has been a lot of evidence that has been lost, a lot of recordings from witnesses, names when they did interviews not even recorded, things like that. They are going to claim that more than one person did this, which I think is interesting, because they did come right out. The defense attorney's very first words was, he's innocent. So, but then they're saying more than one person did this. So are they including him, or, not including him? But we know behind the scenes that they have a theory that this was kind of like a cult doing, but they're not allowed to bring that up in court.
No.
So I think the defense is going to get very tactical and try to bring things up as much as they can to hint at that without actually saying it.
So I want to go back to a couple of things you said. One is, well, maybe just one thing. It encompasses a lot. But the defense came out and said the police did a shabby job. If there isn't a defense attorney in the world that doesn't have that as part of their vocabulary before a trial begins, then they are not doing their job to vigorously defend my client, because they all say that. And hey, I look at it this way, and this is probably a bad analogy, but I don't know why I just thought of this. Maybe because I'm wearing my football jersey today, or a football jersey today. But if the Cleveland Browns were lucky enough one weekend to win a game, okay? So let's assume that the Cleveland Browns won a game.
Yep.
But during the game, the offensive lineman was offside, the wide receiver dropped the pass, does it negate the victory? Just because some things, weren't done perfectly, does it mean that Richard Allen didn't kill 2 kids? Like, that always troubles me. When you're leading with that, you don't have a lot of good facts, in my opinion, on your side to take to trial. Like, I need to lead with this because, hey, they did such a shabby job that my client somehow, some way, over 7 years got framed for this.
So I think that's all relevant because I mean, they could do a shabby job by like not taking good enough notes or
Yeah,
not submitting a file
yeah,
on time. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like losing crucial evidence, just like some other cases that we've been talking about lately, um, looking like they're hiding things or we're going to talk in a little bit about some new pieces of information that I heard during this trial that I never knew before.
right.
And they dropped the ball with some testing that they should have done.
Yep.
Those things are important. Like, if you want to validate that you have done a proper and thorough investigation, then do a proper and thorough investigation.
And I hear what you're saying from your perspective, from where you sit on this case, because guess what, people? We might be on different sides on whether Richard Allen is guilty or not guilty going into this trial. But from where you sit, that is a plausible argument. From where I sit, not so much.
Well, we'll
get into that when it's time.
We'll get into the details.
Yes.
So let me see. Did I finish everything about the? I don't
Prosecution.
think the defense. I'm on the defense
Let's
now.
do the defense.
So
now.
they messed up the investigation. There's more than one person. They are going to prove. They're claiming that Richard Allen was not there at the time. So they're claiming that. They're claiming that Richard Allen got there between 12 and 12:30 and left at 1:30.
Yeah.
Okay. The girls got dropped off at like 1:49 or something. It was like 10 to 2, something like that. They are going to hone in on the fact and prove with phone data that the girls were not there at the time that they were searching. So it was about 4:30, I think, between 4 and 5 when the dad went to go pick them up, and then he started searching right away, and then more and more people came out. So the search started then until 2 in the morning. And so the defense is going to say the girls weren't there, they were taken somewhere.
Yes. What the defense is going to say.
Yes. So that was their opening statements, basically.
Right.
And then they move into testimony. So this is all from the prosecution, and it was the prosecution's job to call. It was the family that they called today. So they called Libby's grandma, and she testified basically about the details of that day.
Mhm.
She, of course, described the girls and their relationship and just how, for everything from how they woke up in the morning to them asking to go, and her even reminding her, take a jacket, you'll get cold. And it was so, even the person, when we were listening to Andrea describe this, she teared up talking about it because the grandma is just so heartbreaking. It sounds like to hear her talk about this. And she, tells her, hey, take a jacket, you might get cold later. And she said to her, I'll be okay. And just to know that was the last thing that she said and she wasn't okay.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking. So the grandmother takes us up until the time when she had an older sister who drove. Her sister was a junior in high school at the time and took them there. Then was there anything about the grandma that I missed?
Nope.
Okay. Then her dad gets on the stand.
Let's stop at the sister.
Okay.
So I think one thing, our time frame is kind of back at that day. When this happened, we're picking up the story as it happened that day, the way Andrea's telling it on her podcast. But when she mentioned that the sister, who is now a college graduate, married with a child, one on the way, it just puts in perspective that, these two girls are frozen in time at that age.
I know how much time has passed.
And how much time has passed that the sister, has
graduated from college,
one baby, married, baby on the way.
Yeah.
And life is going on, but we're bringing everybody back to that moment in time in February 13th,
Yeah.
2017,
Yeah.
when their lives are frozen forever. You'll never see them as adults or graduating high school or going to prom or homecoming or getting married or going, to college, any of that. But the rest of the family has to continue on,
Yeah.
with all that was kind of heartbreaking too, along with the way one of the girls was talking to her grandmother, and that was both heart-wrenching moments in the courtroom.
And could you imagine being the dad and getting up there, especially sitting in front of the person that they're claiming did it? I don't think I'd be able to do that. But he just described how he got involved in having to pick them up because he was already at work. He had no idea, but your girl calls and says, "Hey, Dad, can you?" Of course. So he is the one that has to go pick them up. And I had never heard the details exactly about, I just knew that he got there and couldn't find them, but he really described walking around where he walked around, calling back to the house to his mom, getting them out there. They kept trying to call Abby's mom. They couldn't get a hold of her.
Because Abby's mom didn't have their phone number in her phone, so she was kind of ignoring this unknown number until finally she picked up, and then I think she was at work.
She was at work,
and she finally ended up picking up, the phone, and was like, "Hey, daughters," and she was like, "Oh, just missing, nothing bad's happening. Hey, I'm gonna leave work for a little bit. I'm gonna go check this out and I'll be back."
Yeah.
Not knowing, of course.
So after the dad gives his testimony, Abby's mom, that's who they had a hard time getting a hold of. She speaks and she just describes what, her experience, that she's just expecting that, oh, where are they? Let's go. And because of that, the way that they were approaching it, of course, you're going to go with the least. Either they're hurt somewhere or like something happened, but apparently these trails go, from a wooded area into the edge of town, and then
into
town, and then you can get on another trail. There was a part of the trail that could have went to Abby's house. So they're like, maybe they're walking, so all those ideas are going through their heads. So that's where she painted the picture of how they started to search. So then the prosecution's like, that's it. We don't have any more witnesses to testify today. And this judge is a stickler. She was not happy because she's trying to make this case happen, I think, in 6 weeks. And they are trying to pack it in. They're going like 5 full days a week, half, 3 hours on Saturday. They're only taking Sunday off. And she was not happy. And so the prosecutor scrambled, and there was a deputy probably in the courthouse that was going to give testimony. So they hurried up and got him down there. So he testified. Okay, this is one of the new pieces of information that I did not know. There was an access road under the bridge. So the girls walked over the bridge. There's video of a guy saying down the hill. And then they're found in the flat part of the land by the creek later the next day, or the next day, early the next day. So under the bridge, there's an access road that leads to a house. And the person that they said owns the house, I don't remember ever hearing.
Can we hold off on that person's name? And let's talk about the deputy, because I got a ton of stuff I want to say about the deputy himself.
Sure.
Okay. So the deputy was asked to go out because the police were called. There's a missing person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's take me back. I jumped ahead.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's what the deputy is testifying to, is that, and I think you had mentioned, I didn't catch this, but you had mentioned that the deputy was the dispatcher.
Yes.
And again, I didn't catch this. Did he dispatch himself?
He was told. So it was ending his shift. So like you said, it was shift change.
Yeah, yeah.
He was asked or told, hey, there's a report of these missing girls. Go out and check it out.
Okay, so he's still a deputy. He's still a police officer or whatever. So he can work in that capacity, but because maybe everybody else was coming in,
I don't know.
And doing okay. So,
at first, I thought it was weird that they sent a dispatcher until you said, well, it was shift change. So who knows? I don't know.
Well, it lends itself to a good conspiracy theory. If that were the case, we'll take Barney Fife from the, that we've stuck in the office to go out investigate.
Why not? I said to you, why not send somebody that's already in a patrol car out in the city to go?
Yes.
So that was it.
So it lends to the conspiracy theory that Barney Fife was asked to go watch. But anyway, I want to take it at face value because I mean that's what we should do, right? As a juror, I want to be a juror in this.
Okay.
I want to listen. I don't want to make up all these things. I want to hear what's being said. And it was interesting in the fact with this deputy who was supposedly doing dispatching during the day that was asked to go check this out. He goes out there. He does look around in some of the area that you're going to talk about that we didn't know about, which is important. But I don't know if this was a motivated deputy because it was at shift change, because he was done with work when he was done with this task.
And it was still early evening and you hear, hey, can't find a couple girls that were supposed to get picked up.
Yeah. So I'll do a cursory look, and wait until some of these other guys do the official shift change, be careful out there meeting, that they probably have. And then somebody else comes out. But I don't know, again, I wasn't there.
That's our speculation. So that none of this was said at court.
So, I'm wondering what, this deputy's motivation was when he went out there. And, was it, I think to your point, was something missed?
Yes.
Because, this officer had probably more access. He could walk anywhere under the guise of I'm doing an investigation, than family members and people who don't know the area or whatever that well. So is it an opportunity lost? And was he truly motivated to help find these kids?
Right. So they described what he did, and it didn't sound horrible.
No, actually put some time in.
He definitely could have done more.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Seems like he could have done more. So it sounded to me like he arrived under the bridge. Like there's an access road under the bridge. Now, access to what? I don't know, but I do know there's a house down there.
They said
so that house has to lead to a road down there. So he came in that way.
Yeah.
And he went up to that house,
okay.
knocked on the door, told the guy, hey, looking for a couple kids or something. Can I look around your property? So in the hearing, they said he only spoke to him for like a minute, but they did ask him, was he out of breath? Was he bloody? Was he, disheveled? No, there was, maybe.
What are you doing here?
Irked a little, he described it. He said he acted like anybody who got disturbed by a knock at their door, so he granted permission for him to look around. So there was a barn. So he said he walked around the property. He walked out to the barn. He did not go in the barn, but he walked around it. And then there were two other outbuildings, I believe they said, that he did not approach. So two other buildings that went unsearched. And then he left that area and walked more towards where you would first come off the bridge, where there would be a creek down the hill. And supposedly and this is where a lot of debate is going to come in, because at this time it's dark, starting to get dark, or is dark. And he didn't see anything.
Yeah. It is winter months, so days are shorter.
It gets dark at 5 o'clock, basically. Yes.
Or daylight is shorter. Days stay. But
yes. Yes. So
that was one of your, ahas on, that we didn't know about, this access road. And
Yes.
you were starting to talk about, the access road down there, and it led to somebody's house. They mentioned that person's name. Did you get a chance before I cut you off to mention that person's name? Is that relevant here? Or maybe we'll be in the future, but
I did not write it down.
okay. All right. So I know
but I will. But it was not a name that I had heard before.
previously, right?
There was a name, Ron Logan, who also had a house. I'm not exactly sure, but I thought his house was on the other side of the creek. And he was interviewed, and there were issues with like his alibi changing and things
Don't
like
bring in
that.
too many new people until we get there in the trial. Or you're
But
gonna
that
lose
was
me.
not at all
Yeah.
mentioned.
Don't lose me. keep your
People who
co-host.
follow the case
I know,
know
keep
who
your
I'm talking
co-host.
about.
Keep your co-host.
So this will tie in. So one of the pieces of the new information that I wasn't aware of was the phone of Libby. Supposedly the defense is going to show that it was like online and pinging, or however they want to describe it, in the area of the crime scene until like 5:45 p.m. or sometime after 5 p.m. Then it's not. It's like offline, it's not connecting, it's not pinging until 4 something in the morning, and then it shows back up on the network. So I guess this is all phone data, and the defense was even like holding a phone and like to make that point to the jury, like, we are going to prove a lot about this phone. So I have always thought, if people were out there searching from like 5 in the evening till 2 in the morning, how did they not see those girls? They weren't like miles away from where they were last seen on the bridge. I don't know exactly how far, but I think it was within hundreds of yards. And people were all over that area. So that is going to be a big debate in this trial of why weren't they seen that night. The defense is going to have a lot of points about that, and the prosecution's going to have a lot of, but I'm going to my theory. So because of that, I always thought, well, then they weren't there. They were taken somewhere. And I only knew about that one house across the creek. I didn't know there was another one under the bridge. So that's why I'm like, it just, there was a lot of people out there searching, but it was dark. The prosecution's going to say it was dark, and they didn't cover, everywhere.
So a couple things.
Mhm.
First of all, in your statement, you said that there were a lot of people out there. I wouldn't say there was a lot of people in the area of that down the hill, because they describe it as very treacherous. It was like a slate rock straight down.
I don't think
People
so.
were in other parts of nobody at that point, people speculated that they were, because they saw a picture on Snapchat or Instagram, that they could be near the bridge, but nobody knew that that's where the disappearance happened. There were people on other side of the park. There were a few people in that area. From what I heard today, there were a few people in that area, and you had even said a couple hundred yards away. A couple hundred yards away are 2 football fields. Okay. So
that's a big area.
So
yeah.
that's a long ways away. And to get access to where they potentially were, at the moment, because to your point, they could have been taken from the area and brought back. I don't know.
I guess I'm just imagining, because they did not say how many people were out
Right.
searching that night. I'm sure they will, as they call witnesses, and we hear testimony. So they haven't said that yet.
So as a juror, listening to what's being provided right now, I didn't hear that there were people side by side, arm in arm.
No, the next morning. The next morning they did. So,
but that didn't happen that night. So it's giving a false pretense that the bodies weren't there. The bodies could have been there.
Could have.
But you're saying it like, oh, the bodies weren't there because there was tons of people walking. I mean, that's what you're giving it as.
Well,
The second thing is
can you remember the second
no,
point? Because
yes,
you reminded me
yes,
of
yes, go
something
ahead.
to that. The defense did very little cross-examining I guess they're
Family
called
members.
witnesses, the family
Yeah.
members today, being very kind about it. But the one point he kept trying to make, he asked everybody, was kind of about their personalities and like how brazen they might be. Like, would they speak up for themselves? Would they have a loud voice? Would they? And I think it looked like he's going to go with nobody heard anything. Like, there were people out there in that area at that time and nobody heard anything. And if these were girls that would like yell and yell back and fight, then nothing was heard. I'm reporting what was said from the hearing today, but you just reminded me of that.
So now I have two other things. So let me stay on that track. I think it's okay to say how they were the cause of death.
Yes. I think I did say that they were stabbed already.
Okay. So here or here?
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm going to be a screamer, a yeller, because
they didn't have time. That's what you're saying?
No, not at all.
Oh.
If I'm going to be a screamer or a yeller, and I'm going to be that type of person who, because you're saying I'm trying to get characteristics for these girls. If I'm going to be the one who's the screamer, the yeller, the talkbacker, I want to get somebody's attention, and that's my manner of death, and I didn't get to complete what I was trying to do with these two people, because I heard some of that today.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be the reason why nobody heard nothing? No. Could that be a reason why nobody heard nothing?
Sure.
Okay.
I thought it was odd too, because they did make the statement. It was reported, because we can't hear it. It was reported that they made the statement in court that he had plans of things to do with these girls and got interrupted. And I'm like, well, nobody saw them. Interrupted by who? By what? That didn't make sense to me.
So to me, my mind went to when you started saying he's asking these questions and how could nobody hear them? That would be enough of an interruption. As soon as the word help comes out of, that's it. I'm going to, I've already went too far with these girls.
Okay.
That I'm going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
I'm at the no turning back point now.
Just do it and get out.
Just do it and get out.
Never thought of it that way.
Well, that's why we have two people sitting here to have two differing opinions. And that's the way this trial is going to be, right? There's going to be a point, counterpoint. And if we can preempt some of that, then let's do it right here on this podcast, and our listeners will be better for it. So anyway, let me get to the other point that I was trying to make from something you said about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Now. So I want to talk about the phone, because that's one of the things that you had wrote down as to, we didn't know this information, that the phone was on and pinging at one point, off or gone, and then re-pinging at a different time a little bit later on. I'm interested in that, because I think one of the things that the defense said in their opening statements, which I don't think you had mentioned.
Oh, I could have missed it.
Was the prosecution better stick to their case.
Yes. Hold them. He told the jury, hold them to their story and their timeline.
Hold them accountable for what they're saying happened.
Yes.
Because we're going to be proving, supposedly, otherwise.
Yes. And they're going to have to change their story.
Supposedly. But for me, again, the phone is a phone. The phone isn't a person. So where the phone travels and why it's off and all that stuff are phone things, very hard to tie it, at the end of the day with, well, this person picked it up and then they turned it off and then they, but there's no DNA on that phone. And, it's difficult.
There was another thing that was said, and I don't know if this is true. This would be interesting to look up. They were saying if they were in a car, that a car does not make your phone look like it's moving.
I've
Is
never
that
heard
be
that
true?
before. No, I've never heard that
I don't
before.
know.
But you know what we need?
I thought I heard that today.
We need Cy-Ray.
Yeah. He's, that's another thing. Like I was really doubting that Richard Allen is the guy, but then I think I heard Mr. Ray speak about it and say he thinks the evidence looks like he did it. And I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, I respect what he says, but I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What other interesting things, new things did we find out today?
So the vehicle description, and we were talking about this earlier. So there was a lady, I believe, who drove past where the car was parked, and the car was parked on the side of some building.
The car. What is the car?
The car they're claiming is Bridge Guy's
car. Okay.
Because there was a man seen walking back towards the car, and the witness who saw him said he looked like muddy, bloody, disheveled. So that person was seen. This car was parked awkwardly along this building, looked like it was trying to hide its license plate. But someone said, the witness who saw the car said it looked like a 1960s Mercury Comet.
Mhm.
And I laughed because my first car that my dad picked out for me to drive was a 1967 Mercury Comet. So I know exactly what that looks like. She described it as like a car with like straight lines and straight edges. And I thought, we called my car the Pumpkin Mobile because it was orange and it has a very rounded rear end. But now back then, all those cars were metal and aluminum and all of that. Richard Allen drove a Ford Focus. I can't really like envision a Ford Focus. I guess it's a little rounded parts, but we could pull up 2 pictures and look at them. But to me, a 1960s style car, I don't care what kind of car it is, that's going to be a metal box compared to a Ford Focus, which is going to be a 1990s, and later they're what's a composite material, a plastic, what is it made out of?
The bodies out of metal.
They're just distinct differences to me. So how do you confuse those two?
So here's the $1 million question, because we have been involved in the Idaho 4 case.
Mm-hmm.
If the FBI can confuse a modern day car, you're telling me Jane Q. Citizen should be spot on. If the FBI struggle to identify the year range of a quadruple murderer's car,
you don't want to bring that case into this.
You're telling me that Jane Q. Citizen should be a much better identifier of vehicles.
Well, then I would just say I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
She thought it was a comet.
Yeah.
Okay. So she thought it was a comet. That's the point. So the defense is going to go with that too, like wrong vehicle. So that was a lot. Oh, did we talk about the hair?
No.
That was also like, when I first heard it, I was like, wait, what? One of the girls had a hair wrapped around her finger.
Yes.
And it was long enough that it had a root on it. So sounds like a female hair. They know it is a female. They built a profile off of it, a DNA profile. It's not one of the girls. So
did they build the DNA profile off it, or did they?
How do they know it's not one of the girls? I believe they did. They just
well, then why are they doing DNA now?
They're doing, so what happened was 7 years ago, they've known about this hair since the beginning, and they found out it wasn't one of the girls. So then the next thing they wanted to do is see, is it a family member's? So it could be, I guess, any female family member of one of them to test against it to see, is there a similarity? So the
Oh,
grandmother of Libby and I'm keep getting the names confused. And the mom of Abby, um, gave their samples, their DNA samples 2 years ago, at least 7 years ago. I don't know. It's been a long time. They never did the test. So now here we are, and the trial has started, and the grandma and the mom had to give their DNA again, which, I mean, why put them through that? That's horrible. And now I guess they're going to run the test, because if they can say, okay, yes, it's, a female in Abby's family, or it's a female in Libby's family, um, then it's not doesn't have anything to do with the suspect. But what are they going to do if they can't identify it? Like, it could be like, look at Rick, or what's his name, Rex Heuermann, in the Long Island serial killer case. His wife's hair was all over the victims, and I think that's a way to. I think that could be important.
yeah.
So I never knew that there was a hair.
Yeah, I think the hair, to me, I love the example used in the Rex Huberman one, because I agree that kind of ties it to,
Yeah.
DNA that is being picked up at his house, his car, his family. You had even mentioned, when we were talking about this before the podcast, that what if it's Richard Allen's wife's hair?
Yes. That's what I
Maybe it was
said.
on his jacket, and
Yes.
it got wrapped up in it. But I'm looking at the investigators in this case again, and I'm thinking, is this important to know? It's good to know, but as an investigator, I'm thinking, okay, I have 3 unknown male DNA in the house, like with the Idaho 4.
Mhm.
I'm going to test the DNA and do IgG on the one that has the sheath that's on the murder weapon casing than a lamp or a glove outside, right?
You need to do them all. If you're going to do a thorough investigation, like, I can't listen to that explanation.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do everything.
Yeah.
You can't, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't know. So don't rule things out just because you're feeling or your hunch, because then you're being, prejudiced against, something that could be. You don't know. So you
Right.
should just test everything,
Right.
especially a hair wrapped around the victim. I mean,
this one's clear. I mean,
yeah.
if it's a lamp in the other room,
Yeah. I mean, I see your point. Yeah.
I mean, come on, we could just be testing stuff all day long, right?
Yeah.
And not investigating anything.
Mhm.
But in this one, a hair wrapped around the finger, I think, because I guess my point is, because it was female, they think the assailant's male. What am I going to focus on? What testing, what am I going to focus on? The maybe semen that's here, pubic hair that's here, saliva's here, or female hair. Like, what am I going to focus on?
Well, they don't have all that other stuff you're talking about. So, and anyways, all of it,
Yeah.
like, all of it. I don't think it's, yeah. If it was our kid, we wouldn't want them picking and choosing what you would want them to investigate all of it, because you want to find the person who did it. Right?
Yeah, we'd want to find, but I wouldn't want them doing all of it, because then that's all they'd be doing. If you have 100 DNA samples, touch DNA samples, in Idaho, I don't want them doing all one. I don't want them doing all 100. So no, to answer your question, my answer is no. I wouldn't want that. I would want them to focus on critical evidence. I agree with you that the hair is a critical piece of evidence, and yes, they should have done it. Shame on them that they didn't do it. And you're right. Why put the family through this? They should already have the grandmothers from 2 to 7 years ago DNA sample. It's not changing. Grandma didn't change in 7 years.
Right. So, and like, why didn't they do it? So when they say shoddy police work, I mean, come on, do your job.
If you got it, what are we doing? Is that something they lost? Because you said they did a DNA profile on the hair.
I don't know. They didn't
They
say.
did a DNA profile on grandma. Just match them up. Is that something that they lost?
But they didn't do that's what I'm saying. They collected the
Oh,
saliva.
but
They never did the
did it.
test.
Okay,
Yes.
that's where.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the point.
Got it.
So, well, sorry for that little debate right there.
No, I'm glad you guys were a part of that. That is what this case is about.
Yeah.
I think this is what the jury is going to have to deal with,
Yeah.
you know, as this case goes forward, because as a defense attorney for Richard Allen, I am going to defend him vehemently.
Yeah.
And as the prosecution, I want to get a child murderer off the street to have my community be safe. They should come at each other like gangbusters, and it should be this passionate. And if it's not, then I think we got a sham trial.
It's too bad that we can't see it.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
agree.
so mad about that.
I agree.
Really think that we should be able to see it, but I think they had a half day today, so
well, maybe there's
I'm gonna
more
have to
info
go
coming.
check that out. And we are definitely not going to be able to do an episode on this Delphi case every day, like 6 days a week. However, we will probably do a weekly recap.
Oh, that's great.
Based on what I can see. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to. I don't even know what the next steps are after this. So we will share it as we get it and have a discussion about it.
And if you go down this track, we'll probably label this one Delphi. We're still doing Idaho.
Yes.
We got some new Idaho stuff coming up. I didn't read it. I listened to another book about Idaho, so we're probably going to be talking about that off to the side.
Yes.
We just recently had an international visitor join us, and we did a little show about that. So we got like 3 different things going on. So if something that we're doing interests you, great. Hope to have you on board. Make sure you like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. And if you want to check out some other content, maybe Idaho 4 or maybe some personal stories that we tell.
We do have a lot of personal stories in our first, I don't know, 80 videos we did.
They're out there.
So check those out. But we will see you back here next time.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.